Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight on our news.
Outspoken Anglican MP Glenys Hannah Martin responds to the Prime Minister's Oban explanation.
A 43-year-old woman charged with murder finds out what her attorney told the magistrate.
A string of break-ins in the Yellow Elder community leave residents feeling violated. That story straight ahead.
Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Christina Dragovich. Topping news tonight, the opposition has dismissed Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis' explanation on the Oban deal fiasco as a weak attempt to deflect and distract the Bahamian people from the Minnis administration's incompetence and complete bungling of the Oban matter. This as Minnis admitted his government made missteps, then sought to point the finger at the former government. Jasmine Brown reports.
Hannah Martin says it's simply too late to apologize, as she says the Prime Minister's disappointing comments will not fool the Bahamian people.
For the ceremonial signing, that was a ceremonial apology because he failed to take responsibility for this debacle which is unfolded in the face and in the eyes of the Bahamian people.
During the mid-year budget debate on Tuesday evening, Minnis admitted that he made missteps and errors regarding the $5.5 billion project. The government signed a heads of agreement with Oban Energies on February 19th before an environmental impact assessment was completed. The Oban deal came under fire after it was revealed that Oban's non-executive chairman Peter Krieger in 2015 had been accused of violating the federal securities laws in the United States and pleaded guilty to the first-degree felony of organized fraud in 2006. Krieger then signed someone else's name on the heads of agreement. Hannah Martin says there were more than just missteps made.
This is something that should have been approached in a much more delicate manner than this government has done. Personally, the way this has been handled and their insistence at bludgeoning this over the heads of the Bahamian people makes me wonder why. Why is it that they are insisting on proceeding in this way? And because they have not been transparent already this far, I'm wondering what is it that we do not yet know about this project that we need to know.
Shortly after Minnis wrapped up his communication, opposition leader Philip Brave Davis blasted Minnis for not explaining those so-called missteps. Davis also labeled Minnis' explanation as weak. Hannah Martin agreed and insisted the Bahamian people can see through what she calls Minnis' weak attempt to deflect from their gross mismanagement of the project.
So I think at the end of the day, what came out of that very long exposition yesterday is that this government is not being transparent with the Bahamian people. They're underestimating the intelligence of the Bahamian people, and it's a matter of really, it's very insulting. What we saw yesterday was just an absolute insult.
Minnis has insisted that the Christie administration and last Ingram administration had both agreed to the same deal in principle. However, it should be noted that neither of those governments ever signed a heads of agreement with Oban Energies due to the lack of certain information. Hannah Martin says while the Prime Minister may think the Oban controversy is behind him, the opposition does not plan on letting the matter rest. Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
In other news, a Millers Heights woman was charged in the magistrate's court today with the murder of a 70-year-old former bodybuilder. Jared Hicks has the details.
43-year-old Tracy Pratt showed little emotion as she was escorted up the steps of the South Street Magistrates Court. Pratt was charged with murder before Deputy Chief Magistrate Subasola Swain and a packed courtroom. The particulars are that on Saturday, March 17th, while at New Providence, she did, by means of unlawful harm, intentionally cause the death of 70-year-old Fitzroy Melbourne, a professional bodybuilder. After reading the charge, Swain asked Pratt if she understood the nature of the offence, to which Pratt nodded in the affirmative. The Deputy Chief Magistrate went on to explain to the Millers Heights resident that she did not have the power to grant her bail and that application would need to be made in the Supreme Court. Pratt's attorney, Tonique Lewis, raised issues of her client's health, saying she had been experiencing stomach pain as a result of a surgery to remove a cancerous tumor from her appendix, a condition her lawyer says she still receives follow-up treatment for. Swain ordered that the 43-year-old be seen by a medic at the Bahamas Department of Corrections. Now, Pratt is scheduled to return to court on May 15th. That's when prosecutors are expected to file their voluntary bill of indictment paperwork. Reporting for our news, I'm Jared Higgs.
Well, as the residents of Yellow Elder slept last night, thieves broke into several vehicles. Members of the community say they feel unsafe and urged police to step up crime-fighting efforts. Jillian Gray has that story.
A string of break-ins started from one end of the corner and ended at the other, leaving in its wake thousands of dollars in damages. Some residents say they feel unsafe and others feel violated.
It was around 6:30 this morning that residents of Dennis Court Yellow Elder Gardens began emerging from their homes to begin their day. That's when they discovered what was done.
I feel very disrespected because how hard I had to wait to put the stuff inside my car for someone to come and take it. That ain't fair.
People are already struggling, and there's something else I have to deal with. This expensive glass to replace, and 3 cars got broken in and everything was stolen out of them, down to my bank card and a few little dollars that were in the ashtray.
Officers were called to the area and arrived a few hours later. Residents say this is not the first time a string of break-ins has happened in the area. They're now calling for more to be done.
I would recommend that we have more police patrol, surveillance cameras, so that we can see what's going on when we're home at night and resting. I would also recommend that we probably form a neighborhood watch, to watch out for one another to make sure that everything is, going well.
Yes, because they really fall off bad lately.
That's the reason why they were able to so brazen and hit so many cars. Nobody was around to watch.
Residents noted that CCTV was installed in the area, but there's no telling the full extent of their assistance into this investigation. Police say they are beefing up their patrols and confirmed that an investigation was launched into the break-ins. However, residents say they have an idea of just who committed the crime.
I know that somebody around here, someplace right around here. I sure that somebody right around here. Probably somebody who's been sitting in my yard. You see? What I do to them.
So they know the weakest link, like the guys with the alarms, they wasn't hit.
I think it's more than one. Because the way I had my set pulled down my car, they had a struggle to take that out.
The Dennis Court residents also gave this message to the perpetrators.
A lot of people are hurting, and I would ask them to give themselves in, give themselves in, because they're hurting innocent people, people that work hard, people that go out to work every day and expect to come home to the privacy of their house. So I would encourage themselves to give themselves into the law immediately.
What do you want to say to these persons that are doing these robberies?
It makes no sense. Just stop. Just stop doing it. Let's live to come together, live as one. Let's make a better Bahamas. This ain't making no sense.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jillian Gray.
And a mother and her 5-year-old daughter are in hospital tonight following a bad accident on East-West Highway. Their SUV was traveling north on the busy highway near R.M. Bailey Park after 2 p.m. when it flipped over and rolled 5 times before landing on its side on the opposite side of the road. Quick-thinking bystanders rushed to remove the mother and her crying child, who was bleeding from the damaged vehicle. Details are sketchy as to what led to the accident, but an eyewitness on the scene gave this account.
It's got the same white car that it swerved and then it hit over the thing in the middle and then it just started to flip. And then I rushed over and I saw that it was two females in the car, a lady and a daughter. From what I saw, I think as if somebody else was speeding and they just cut them off. And she just probably didn't gain control of the wheel.
The injured little girl could be heard crying in her mother's arms as they awaited assistance. Police and emergency medical services personnel eventually made it on the scene and transported the mother and child to hospital. Investigations continue. And the Bahamas National Trust and Bahamar signing a heads of agreement at the mega resort today, designed to facilitate more education and preservation of the country's natural resources. Kyle Joaquin tells us more.
Their signatures making it official as the Bahamas National Trust and Bahamar entered into an agreement that will see the development of environmental programs, preservation projects, and more education on the country's natural resources.
It's also exciting for me, in my capacity wearing my other hat, to see the linkages and to see how it all works together and how we must bring it together.
Bahamas National Trust President Janice Johnson touting the commitment made by the mega resort, which has launched its own natural preserve projects. Bahamar also adopting the Harold and Wilson Park. Bahamar President Graham Davis.
The basic premise is to make sure that this incredible and most breathtaking place on earth, the archipelago of the Bahamas, is protected forever. And whatever we can do as a good corporate citizen, we'll do that. And we believe so strongly that the Bahamas National Trust and its efforts, along with other organizations that are here to protect the Bahamas for generations to come, is perfectly aligned with our strategy and our vision to create experiences beyond just sitting on a beach or rolling dice in a casino.
According to Johnson, the Bahamas National Trust is always working and always ready to have corporate Bahamas step in and help out or adopt a national park like Bahamar did. Bahamar's president agrees, saying this MOU aligns with the resort's strategy and vision.
To create experiences beyond just sitting on a beach or rolling dice in a casino, that we create experiences for our guests to interact with the environment, help save a coral reef, help save the queen conch, help preserve the flamingos throughout the Bahamas, and work on other aspects that guests can take home more than just that experience of a resort, but take home an education.
For Our News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Well, around the globe, March 21st is celebrated as World Down Syndrome Day. Here in the Bahamas, our Giorgio Bain visited one of the only centers in the Bahamas that caters to the needs of those diagnosed with a genetic disorder.
Our News celebrated World Down Syndrome Day here at the Bahamas Down Syndrome and Friends Center on Village Road. And according to some of our new friends that we met today, they're no different than anyone else.
Happy World Down Syndrome Day!
The Bahamas Down Syndrome and Friends Center is something near and dear to President Cheryl Johnson Newell, who noticed that her son Jonathan had learning difficulties. Determined to make sure that her son and other kids like him didn't fall through the cracks, Newell got the courage to start the center.
This is my son Jonathan, who's 14 years old, and when he was young, I realized the challenges of educating special needs children in the Bahamas was a little difficult. And so I felt burdened that I should open a center for kids with not only Down syndrome, but with various disabilities. So we opened our center in 2011, and we started with 3 students, and now we have over 45 students in our program.
The latest venture for the students and staff of the Bahamas Down Syndrome and Friends Center is a restaurant named Ty's Place, named in honor of Jonathan's best friend Ty, who also had Down syndrome and died of leukemia.
2 years ago, we were able to purchase this property here, and I thought, what better idea than to open a restaurant and a coffee shop that our adults could work and own. And so these are some of our staff that are from our center, and they work here full time, and they all get a paycheck, and they own the whole thing.
The majority of the restaurant's workers have been diagnosed with Down syndrome. Saturdays are family fun days with a bouncing castle and the works. Today, as they celebrated World Down Syndrome Day, there was music and dancing.
Down syndrome is a condition called trisomy 21, so that's why they picked 3/21, the 3rd month, the 21st. So that is why it's called World Down Syndrome.
To get everyone around the world in the spirit of World Down Syndrome Day, the Rock Your Socks campaign was launched, which encourages persons to rock socks with different styles and patterns to celebrate what makes us all unique. Our news anchor Kyle Joaquin, host of the Guardian Radio's Morning Blend Dwight Strawn, and Guardian business editor Chester Robards rocked their socks and told us why.
You know, I just wanted to mix it up, get a bit goofy, just a bit. So I pulled out the Mickey Mouse on one side, and the monkey, the surprise monkey face emoji. Just try to have some fun, lighten the mood. That's what they intended this day to be.
We stand out. They're very different. So I wanted to really make a statement with it. It's a wonderful cause, so I figured this is a good way to get people to ask me questions so I could tell them a little bit about World Down Syndrome Day.
I've met actually a lot of lovely kids with Down syndrome and adults. And, it's great to have them recognized.
Newell said at the end of the day, the growth of the center depends on all residents who help to make a difference.
I just want to say thank you, Bahamas, for just allowing us to be a vibrant part of the community. And we hope that that continues the support.
Service with a smile, doing it with a passion.
Unfortunately, I couldn't wear my socks today. Still to come on our news, the Prime Minister's wife asked for her views on marital rape. Her response